The Red Line. The story The Red Line is a short story written in 1993 by Charles Rickson. It takes place in London. The main part of the story takes place in the Tube of London. It has three different main characters, which means we get three different point of views throughout the story. In other words, the story is told in a third-person narrative because we get to know all of the main characters' thoughts and actions at the same time. One of the persons we meet is the Nameless Man. We don't know his real name, but the Nameless Man sees himself as a perfect human being. He has a problem with body hair and doesn't have any except his golden locks on his head. It says in page 62, line 3 to 4, and with tweezers, razors, and depilatory cream, he removed any offending growth. It's very clear that he has a problem with what he would describe as impurities. He has no body hair, no red marks, scars, or anything which could be seen as impurity. Um, yeah, the way he's described in the story, it's very perfectionistic, and he's described very thorough. Um, yeah, and well, the reader could easily think that he's a narcissist. For example, it says on page 62, line 9 to 10. Once he was clean and smooth all over, he studied himself in the mirror. We're also told that his biggest passion is singing karaoke and that he is a huge fan of Bob Seger. In addition, we hear that he spends his Friday nights in a karaoke bar performing Bob Seger songs just perfectly, which means that he has studied Bob Seger moves and performances, or in other words, he is obsessed with performing karaoke and Bob Seger, because that's what he's used to do on his Friday nights, at least until the karaoke bar closed. Yeah, the Nameless Man has this idea that the bar closed because people of London nowadays only wants to change, as he says, and wants to listen to disco music, take drugs, get drunk, stuff like that. Yeah, he has prejudices about other people and believes that it's because of people like Bertha, one of the other main characters, um, that Karaoke Friday is gone. Because of this, the Nameless Man feels that he has this mission to go out, find the people that he believes is ruining London, and then kill them. Bertha is described as a typical Southern European. It says on page 62, line 19 to 20, he was dark-skinned, the man with thick black hair, dark eyes, a bit like one of the male models in the next catalog. Yeah, Berto is from Venice in Italy and is visiting a girl named Kathy in London. Kathy and Berto, they met in Venice some time ago. They had a holiday flirt, and Kathy therefore invited Berto to come and visit her in London. Furthermore, Berto has some problems understanding the English language, although we hear that it wasn't a problem for him when Kathy was visiting him in Venice, because he or she and Bertha spent the most of the time in bed. Yeah, but in London it's something else. It says on page 63, line 31 to 33, names didn't sound like they were written. They'd been made clear to him after Kathy had left the train and he'd tried to ask a man for help. When Berthel finally arrives to London, or arrives in London, nothing is uh, as he expected it to be. Kathy has an open relationship, or she's in an open relationship, which means that she has a boyfriend. Yeah, and he and Kathy and Bertha are actually spending a lot of time together, and that confuses Bertha. Then at this party, Kathy suddenly gets in a fight with the boyfriend, and she and Bertha then rushes to the train. But then in the train, she also gets mad at Bertha, and she ends up telling him not to follow her, and then leaves him in the train. Which means that Bertha is left with this huge problem because he can't remember where Kathy lives and doesn't know his way around in London. and yeah, he doesn't speak the English language very well. The last character we meet is the English girl Denise. She is described very insecure and paranoid. She has this idea that every man she meets is a potential rapist or murderer. Yeah, she chose to take the public train home from a party, but regrets in the minute the door closes. It says in page 68, line 15 to 17, why hadn't she got a taxi like usually? So she'd save herself a few pounds, but it wasn't worth it. London wasn't safe for a single woman. Don't look at anyone, don't talk to anyone. In her train cabin, both the nameless man and Bertha sits, and because of her paranoia, Denise fears that Bertha might be a rapist and that he wants to harm her. So when Bertha finally gathers enough courage to stand up and ask Denise for help, she misunderstands him and right away thinks that he is going to hurt her. She therefore runs out of the train and leaves Bertha and the nameless man alone in the train. Yeah. The story is told chronological, but with a couple of flashbacks. For example, in the beginning of the story, we hear that the nameless man is used to yeah, that the nameless man goes out each Friday night singing karaoke, and how he carefully makes sure that his skin is clean and white as milk. Yeah, the story is also told in medias res. It means that it begins in the middle of the actions. Yeah, the main part of the story takes place in the Tube of London. The three characters are in the same train, heading the same direction. Yeah. Then each of the headlines in the story refers to a station in the tube. For example, Oval and Embankment, which are train stations in London, but also headlines at the first page, page 62. Yeah. At each station or each headline, we get a new point of view from one of the main characters. Yeah. The relation between the three characters are very misunderstood. The most central part of the story takes place in the tube, as mentioned. All of the characters are gathered in the same train, heading in the same direction, etc. Yeah. Bertha is lost because he doesn't know where Kathy are or Kathy is and doesn't know what to do. Um, he tried asking for help, but the man he asked didn't understand anything of what he said, and Bertha therefore felt humiliated. Yeah, but throughout the story or throughout the train stations, Bertha then gathers enough courage to once again ask for help. But what he doesn't know is that the woman, Denise, which he is going to ask for help, suffers from this very serious paranoia. Yeah, she believes that every man is a potential killer or a rapist and fears the worst things or worst case scenario. Um, yeah, he doesn't know that she has studied Bertha and that she's afraid that he might hurt her. So when Bertha all of a sudden walks towards her, she's convinced that he's going to kill her, which means that she misreads his intentions and yeah, she then rushes off the train. The nameless man, which also is present in the train, has also misunderstood both Bertha and Denise. He feels that he has this mission to go out and find all of the stereotypes which he believes is ruining London, and he thinks that, or feels, believes, whatever, that both the Bertha and Denise categorizes. Yeah, the nameless man finds Bertha disgusting because of his black hair. He believes that it's because of types like Bertha specifically that Karaoke Friday is gone. It says in page 69, line 29, he was just the type who was ruining London. Yeah. Specifically, he misunderstands Bertha when he puts on his earphones. He believes that Bertho is listening to disco music, which the nameless man hates, uh, and is then convinced that it's because of types like Bertho that karaoke night is gone. But what he doesn't know is that Bertho actually is listening to English in his earphones, trying to learn the language. The story ends with Denise running out of the train, and Bertha is therefore left with no other option than to ask the nameless man for help. Uh, but yeah, he doesn't know that how the nameless man feels and that he's on this mission. So when Bertha therefore turns around, um, the nameless man stabs Bertha with a knife in his chest just before he leaves the train, and Bertha is therefore left half dead lying on the floor. Yeah. Um, the main theme of the story could be prejudices. All of the characters are filled with prejudices. For instance, Bertha is afraid to ask for help because he thinks that Denise will laugh and humiliate him, just like the first man did. Therefore, it takes a lot of courage to ask her. But Denise is also full of prejudices. She suffers from this paranoia. Yeah, she believes that every man is this potential killer, etc. When Bertha therefore walks right at her, or right towards her, she then immediately thinks that he is going to kill her. So she's also full of prejudices. But the nameless man, though, is the most prejudiced of all of the characters. In view of the look of Bertho, he believes that he is a drug addict, a hooligan, and the exact type who he believes is ruining London. Because of this, the nameless man believes that it is his duty to kill Bertho. Yeah. It is obvious that the author throughout his story is trying to send out the message that the world is full of prejudices. Yeah, Charles Rickson is somehow criticizing the society by saying that people nowadays have a tend to judge other people too fast. In other words, Charles Rickson is trying to settle with prejudices. He's trying to show the outside world that no matter what, there's always two sides of a story. By showing us each of the characters' point of views and thoughts, the reader gets the bigger picture and is then able to decide what's wrong and what's right. So the message of the story is therefore clear. Don't judge a book by its cover, or in other words, try not to categorize and have prejudices about people you don't know, because everything is not always what it looks like. Yeah.